Today is Wednesday, August 7, 2024. I'm Pastor Michael, and this is Wilderness Wanderings. Our text comes from 1 Chronicles 29. But who am I, and who are my people, that we should be able to give as generously as this? Everything comes from you, and we have given you only what comes from your hand. We are foreigners and strangers in your sight, as were all our ancestors. Our days on earth are like a shadow without hope. 1 Chronicles 29, 14-15. Sesame Street has the song, "One of these is not like the others." Our verses for today remind me of that song as they appear at a place in this chapter. It's a wonderful chapter in which David passes the baton of kingship to his son Solomon. David's dream has been to build a temple for God, but God has not allowed it. His son will build it. Recognizing that Solomon is young and inexperienced, David makes a sizable donation of resources for the temple. In response, the leaders of Israel follow his example by making their own donations. The people are filled with joy and give praise to God. During the celebration, David prays. It's a prayer worth paying attention to. The conclusion we have given to the Lord's Prayer, "For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever," appears to be a condensed version of this prayer. Much of it is a celebration of God and of his kingdom and glory. After all of that, we find our text, "But who am I? Our days on earth are like a shadow without hope." On its own, this seems rather odd and out of place, but in its context, it calls us to a similar spirituality. The theme of the chapter is a temple as the place where God will dwell among his people. This temple theme is carried through the rest of the Old Testament and into the New. As we know, the physical temple was not a permanent dwelling place for God, but David did not perceive that. God's desire to dwell among his people is fulfilled in Jesus and pictured in Revelation as God coming down to earth to dwell among his people forever. In this passage, David articulates the human need for God. If he does not dwell among us, we are nothing. We have no hope. Everything we have is a gift from God. As David hands over the baton of kingship to Solomon, he is deeply aware of how precarious a position Israel holds in the world. Without God, they are nothing. As he sees the people giving for the temple, he sees a people who are committed to God. His prayer, as he passes the baton, is that God will keep those hearts committed to him. He recognizes just how easily people can turn away from God. He prays particularly for Solomon, that God will keep his heart loyal. It seems to me that this is always a prayer that we need to be making. We need to pray for the leaders of the church, that God will keep their hearts and minds loyal to him, and that God will keep all our hearts committed to him. It's a prayer Christian parents pray for their children. There's also this. It's easy to look at all the things we have and say of them, "These are mine." David reminds us in this passage, in this prayer, that the things we have truly belong to God. Without him, we have nothing. We can only use our possessions with joy when we recognize this. Otherwise, we hold on to them too tightly, afraid they will get away from us. When we view them as gifts of God, we can use them for the blessing of others because we know that God has plenty more. We can joyfully share them because we know that God is with us always. As you journey on, go with the blessing of God. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with you wherever he may send you. May he guide you through the wilderness, protect you through the storm. May your day end with rejoicing at the wonders he has shown you. May you rest in his provision as he brings night and then new dawn.